The notification sound cut through the silence of our loft like a knife through flesh. 3:15 in the morning, and Lily's phone was buzzing on the nightstand beside me while she slept peacefully, her auburn hair spread across the pillow like spilled wine. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I shouldn't have looked. Any decent husband would have rolled over and gone back to sleep. But decent husbands don't lie awake at 3 in the morning wondering why their wives have been coming home late from photography shoots that somehow never produce any new portfolio pieces. The screen glowed in the darkness. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Last night was incredible. E. My blood turned to ice water in my veins. Ethan, her ex-boyfriend from college, the failed musician who'd been sniffing around her Instagram posts for months. The same Ethan she'd sworn was just an old friend when I'd asked about his increasingly frequent comments on her photos. I set the phone down carefully, my hands surprisingly steady. Lily stirred beside me, her breathing still deep and regular. She looked so peaceful, so innocent. Amazing how someone could destroy your entire world while dreaming sweet dreams. The converted warehouse loft we'd called home for 3 years suddenly felt like a mausoleum. Exposed brick walls that had once seemed charming now felt like prison bars. The industrial windows that let in streams of golden morning light now seemed to mock me with their transparency, unlike my wife of 4 years. I slipped out of bed and walked to those windows, looking down at the empty street below. The city slept on, oblivious to the fact that Kyle Morrison's life had just imploded. At 29, I was a successful tech sales director with a beautiful wife, a great apartment, and what I'd thought was a solid marriage. Now I felt like I was standing on quicksand, watching everything I'd built sink into the earth. The smart thing would be to confront her immediately. Wake her up, demand answers, have it out right here and now. But I'd learned a few things in my years climbing the corporate ladder at Dataflow Solutions. Information was power, timing was everything, and revenge was a dish best served ice cold. I walked to the kitchen and made coffee, my mind already working through possibilities. The apartment lease was in both our names, but I'd paid the security deposit. The joint checking account had my salary funding it. Lily's freelance photography brought in maybe 20% of our household income on a good month. Her car payments came out of that joint account. Her credit cards, too. Kyle, what are you doing up so early? Lily's voice drifted from the bedroom, sleepy and innocent. Couldn't sleep, I called back, surprised by how normal my voice sounded. Work stuff on my mind. She appeared in the doorway wearing one of my old college t-shirts, her hair tousled, looking like the woman I'd fallen in love with 6 years ago. Before I knew about Ethan, before I realized that "we'll always be friends" was code for "I'm keeping my options open." You work too hard, she said, patting over to kiss my cheek. The same lips that had apparently been on Ethan last night. I didn't flinch, didn't pull away. I smiled and handed her a cup of coffee. Someone has to pay for this place, I said lightly. Speaking of which, how did your shoot go yesterday? The one with the wedding photographer downtown? The lie came so easily to her. Oh, it was great, really productive. We worked late, you know how these artistic types are. Lost track of time completely. I'm sure you did. I took a sip of coffee, watching her over the rim of my mug. What was the photographer's name again? Jessica Chen. I think I mentioned her before. Another lie. Smooth as silk. I made a mental note to verify whether Jessica Chen actually existed, though I was pretty sure the only person Lily had been shooting with yesterday was Ethan, and the only thing getting shot was my marriage. Well, I should get ready for work, I said, setting down my mug. Big presentation today. Good luck, honey. She kissed me again, and this time I did flinch slightly. She noticed. You okay? Just nervous about the presentation. You know how it is. She nodded sympathetically, already reaching for her phone. Probably to text Ethan back. The thought made my stomach churn, but I kept my expression neutral. In the shower, I let the hot water wash over me and started planning. If Lily wanted to play games, I'd show her how the game was really played. She thought she was dealing with the same trusting, naive Kyle who'd proposed to her in this very loft 3 years ago, but that Kyle was gone as of 3:15 this morning. The new Kyle was going to be much more interesting. The Dataflow Solutions office buzzed with its usual morning energy, sales reps making cold calls, account managers juggling client crises, and the endless hum of ambition and caffeine that kept the tech world spinning. My corner office overlooked the city's financial district, and on most days, the view filled me with pride. Today, it just reminded me how much I had to lose. You look like hell, Morrison. Mark Stevens dropped into the chair across from my desk. his construction worker frame somehow making my expensive office furniture look flimsy. He'd been my best friend since high school, back when we were both nobodies with big dreams. Now he ran his own contracting business and served as my unofficial advisor on everything from investments to marriage. "Thanks for the pep talk." I turned away from the window to face him. "What brings you to corporate paradise?" "Had a job interview with your building management company. Thought I'd stop by and see how the other half lives." He studied my face with the keen eye of someone who'd known me for 15 years. "Seriously, what's wrong? You look like someone stole your lunch money." I hesitated. Mark was loyal to a fault, but he was also the type who believed in confronting problems head-on. Subtlety wasn't his strong suit. Still, I needed someone I could trust, and the list of people who fit that description had gotten significantly shorter since 3:15 this morning. "Hypothetically," I said, leaning back in my chair, "if you suspected someone close to you was lying about something important, how would you go about confirming your suspicions?" "Hypothetically?" Mark's eyebrows rose. "I'd ask them straight out. Life's too short for games." "And if asking directly might complicate things?" Mark was quiet for a long moment, his expression growing serious. "This is about Lily, isn't it?" I didn't answer directly, but my silence was confirmation enough. "Shit, Kyle. What did she do?" "I'm not sure yet. That's why I need to be careful about how I handle this." Mark leaned forward, his voice dropping. "You want my advice? Whatever you're thinking of doing, make sure you're ready for the consequences. Once you start down that road, there's no going back." "I know." I picked up a pen from my desk, rolling it between my fingers. "The question is whether I can live with not knowing the truth." "Fair enough." Mark stood up. "You need help with anything, and I mean anything, you call me, day or night." After he left, I sat staring at my computer screen, not really seeing the quarterly sales reports displayed there. Instead, I was thinking about information gathering. In sales, knowledge was everything. You researched your prospects, learned their pain points, understood their decision-making process. Only then could you craft the perfect pitch. Marriage, apparently, wasn't that different. I opened a new browser window and started with the basics. Lily's Instagram account was public, a necessity for her photography business. I scrolled through her recent posts, looking for patterns. There, a photo from 3 days ago, tagged at Riverside Park. The caption read, "Capturing golden hour magic with an old friend." The photo showed a silhouette against the sunset, artistic but conveniently obscuring any identifying features. The comments were more revealing. Several from accounts I recognized as her photographer friends, but one stood out. "Beautiful work as always, can't wait to see what you create next." Ethan Sound 87. Ethan. Right there in plain sight, and I'd been too trusting to notice. I clicked on his profile. Ethan Rivera, 28, musician and creative soul, according to his bio. His photos showed a lean guy with carefully disheveled hair and the kind of vintage band t-shirts that cost more than my dress shirts. Recent posts included several photos from local venues. Apparently he played guitar at coffee shops and dive bars around the city, but it was his location tags that made my blood pressure spike. 3 weeks ago, Riverside Park. 2 weeks ago, the Copper Still, the dive bar 6 blocks from our loft. 1 week ago, Millennium Hotel downtown. I grabbed my phone and opened Lily's Find My Friends app. She'd insisted we share locations after reading some article about couples and transparency. The irony wasn't lost on me. Her phone showed she was currently at her studio in the Arts District. I called the studio's main number. "Riverside Arts Collective. This is Jess." "Hi, is Lily Morrison available?" "This is her husband." "Oh, hey Kyle. Actually, Lily isn't in today. She said she had an outdoor shoot. Want me to have her call you?" Interesting. According to her phone, she was at the studio. According to the studio, she wasn't. According to the laws of physics, she couldn't be both. "No, that's okay. I'll catch up with her later. Thanks, Jess." I hung up and opened the Find My Friends app again. Lily's location showed Riverside Arts Collective, but there was something I'd missed before, a small timestamp showing when the location was last updated. 2 hours ago. She'd turned off location sharing. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily. "Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. Love you." I stared at the message for a long time before typing back, "Love you too. Have fun with your shoot." The lies were getting bolder. That was either carelessness or confidence. Either way, it was going to be her downfall. I spent the rest of the day in meetings, but my mind was elsewhere. By 5 o'clock, I had a plan forming. It wasn't pretty, and it wasn't noble, but it was thorough. If Lily wanted to play games, I'd show her what a real strategist could do. The first step was documentation. I needed proof, not just suspicions. The second step was preparation: financial records, legal documents, evidence trails. The third step was execution. But first, I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. The Millennium Hotel sat downtown like a glass and steel monument to mediocrity. Mid-range rates, decent restaurant, the kind of place where business travelers stayed when their companies were watching expenses. It was also, according to Ethan's Instagram, where he'd been hanging out lately. I sat in my car across the street at 6:30, watching the entrance. Lily had texted an hour ago saying she'd be working late at a client consultation. Her phone's location was turned off, which had become her new normal over the past week. I didn't have to wait long. At 6:45, Lily's silver Honda pulled into the hotel's parking garage. 5 minutes later, she emerged on foot, walking quickly toward the main entrance. She'd changed clothes since this morning. Gone was the casual jeans and sweater, replaced by a black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last year. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. At 7:10, Ethan arrived. He parked his beat-up Subaru on the street and walked toward the hotel entrance with the swagger of a man who thought he was getting away with something. He wore dark jeans and a leather jacket that probably cost more than his car was worth. I waited another 10 minutes, then followed them inside. The Millennium's lobby was generic corporate elegance: marble floors, abstract art, the kind of neutral luxury that offended no one and impressed no one. I bought a newspaper from the gift shop and settled into an armchair with a clear view of the elevators and the hotel bar. They weren't in the bar. I approached the front desk, where a young clerk with perfectly styled hair and a practiced smile waited to help me. "Good evening. I'm supposed to meet some friends here, but I can't seem to find them. Could you ring their room? The reservation should be under Rivera." "Certainly, sir. Let me check." Her fingers flew over the keyboard. "I show a Mr. Rivera in room 847. Let me connect you." The phone rang 4 times before going to voicemail. "You've reached Ethan Rivera. Leave a message and I'll get back to you." "No answer," the clerk said apologetically. "Would you like me to try again later?" "No, that's fine. They're probably at dinner. Thank you." Room 847, 8th floor. I memorized the number and walked back to my chair, mind racing. They were here, in a hotel room, while Lily's husband sat at home thinking she was working late. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. Seeing the Instagram posts and suspicious texts was one thing, but this was real. This was my wife of 4 years, the woman I'd planned to have children with, sneaking around behind my back with her ex-boyfriend. I pulled out my phone and opened the camera app. If I was going to do this, I needed evidence that would hold up in court. Divorce court, specifically. At 8:30, they emerged from the elevator together. Lily looked flushed and happy, her hair slightly mussed. Ethan had his arm around her waist in a way that left no doubt about what they'd been doing for the past hour and a half. I took photos, lots of photos. They walked through the lobby together, completely absorbed in each other. Lily said something that made Ethan laugh, and he pulled her closer. She looked up at him with an expression I recognized, the same look she used to give me when we were first dating. More photos. They parted ways in the parking garage, a long kiss goodbye that I captured in high definition. Then Lily got in her Honda and Ethan climbed into his Subaru, and they drove off in different directions like nothing had happened. I sat in my car for another 20 minutes, scrolling through the photos on my phone. The evidence was crystal clear and completely damning. Lily's face was clearly visible in every shot, as was Ethan's. The timestamps showed they'd spent over an hour together in a hotel room. My marriage was over. The only question now was how much it was going to cost me. I drove home slowly, my mind shifting from shock and anger into something colder and more calculating. Lily wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that she'd picked the wrong opponent. The loft was dark when I arrived. Lily wouldn't be home for another hour. She needed time to establish her alibi, to shower off the scent of betrayal, to practice her lies in the mirror. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and sat down at my laptop. Time to do some research. Arizona was a no-fault divorce state, which meant I didn't need to prove adultery to end the marriage. But it also meant that assets would be split 50-50 unless I could prove financial misconduct or get Lily to agree to different terms. The apartment lease was in both our names, but I'd paid the security deposit and all the rent for the past 6 months while Lily's photography business struggled. The joint checking account was funded entirely by my salary, her car loan, her credit cards, her health insurance, all tied to my income. I opened our banking app and started taking screenshots. Every transaction, every payment, every deposit. If Lily wanted half of everything, she was going to have to explain where her half of the contributions were. Then I opened a new checking account at a different bank. Tomorrow, I'd redirect my paycheck. Let her explain to Ethan how she planned to pay for hotel rooms when the money ran out. My phone buzzed with a text. Just finished up. Heading home now? Chinese food? I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Sounds great. I'll order from Golden Dragon. When she walked through the door 45 minutes later, I was sitting at our kitchen island with containers of takeout spread between us and a smile on my face. How was your client consultation? I asked, handing her a pair of chopsticks. Oh, you know how it is. Lots of back and forth about creative vision. Some clients just don't know what they want. She settled onto the stool across from me, completely at ease with her lies. That must be frustrating. It is, but that's the business. She opened a container of lo mein and started eating. How was your day? Productive. I learned some interesting things. She looked up at me, and for just a moment, I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Uncertainty, maybe, or guilt. Oh? Like what? I smiled and took a bite of orange chicken. Just work stuff. Nothing you'd find interesting. We ate in comfortable silence, like the married couple we used to be. But I could feel the weight of the photos on my phone, the evidence of her betrayal burning like a coal in my pocket. Tomorrow, the real game would begin. Kyle Morrison's office. This is Shannon speaking. I looked up from my computer to see Shannon Walsh standing in my doorway, phone pressed to her ear. At 36, Shannon was Dataflow's star account manager. Sharp, ambitious, and utterly ruthless when it came to getting what she wanted. We'd been rivals since she joined the company 2 years ago, competing for the same promotions and the same high-value clients. He's in a meeting right now, she continued into the phone. Can I take a message? I wasn't in a meeting. I was researching divorce attorneys and planning my wife's financial ruin. But Shannon didn't need to know that. Who was it? I asked when she hung up. Lily. She sounded upset about something. Shannon stepped into my office and closed the door behind her. Everything okay at home? The question caught me off guard. Shannon and I barely spoke unless we were arguing about territory or commission splits. Her sudden concern felt like a trap. Why do you ask? Because you've been distracted all week, and now your wife is calling you at work, sounding like she's about to cry. She settled into the chair across from my desk. Plus, Mark Stevens has been by here twice this week, which usually means you're dealing with something personal. I studied her face, looking for an angle. Shannon never did anything without a reason, and kindness wasn't typically in her repertoire. Lily and I are going through a rough patch, I said carefully. Nothing I can't handle. Rough patch as in, we're fighting about money, or rough patch as in, she's sleeping with someone else? The directness of the question hit me like a slap. What makes you think? Because I've been there. Shannon's expression softened slightly. My ex-husband thought he was being clever too. Late nights at work, mysterious phone calls, sudden interest in his appearance. Men aren't as subtle as they think they are. It's not... I stopped myself. There was no point in lying to someone who'd already figured it out. How did you know? Lucky guess. Plus, you've been checking your phone obsessively and you look like you haven't slept in days. She leaned forward. The question is, what are you planning to do about it? I was quiet for a long moment, weighing my options. Shannon was smart, connected, and completely immoral when it suited her purposes. She was also the last person I should be confiding in. But she was also the only person in the building who might actually understand what I was going through. I'm documenting everything, I said finally. Financial records, evidence of the affair, building a case. Smart. You'll need it for the divorce proceedings. She paused. Unless you're planning something else. Like what? Like making sure she understands exactly what she's throwing away before you let her go. The suggestion hung in the air between us like a challenge. Shannon was watching me carefully, gauging my reaction. I'm not looking for revenge, I lied. I just want a fair settlement. Of course you do. Her smile was sharp as a knife. But if you change your mind, let me know. I have some experience in these matters. After she left, I sat staring at my computer screen, thinking about her offer. Shannon Walsh wasn't someone you wanted as an enemy, but she might be exactly what I needed as an ally. My phone buzzed with another text from Lily. Can we talk tonight? Something important. My blood turned cold. Had she figured out that I knew? Was she planning to confess, or was she getting ready to ask for a divorce herself? I typed back, Of course. I'll pick up dinner on the way home. Whatever she wanted to discuss, I'd be ready for it. The loft felt different when I walked through the door that evening, charged with tension like the air before a thunderstorm. Lily was pacing in the living room, still wearing the jeans and sweater she'd put on that morning. Her phone was clutched in her hand like a lifeline. "Kyle, we need to talk." "Okay." I set the bag of Thai food on the kitchen counter and turned to face her. "What's on your mind?" She took a deep breath, and for a moment I thought she was going to confess everything. Instead, she said, "I think we should take a break." The words hit me like a physical blow, even though I'd been expecting something like this. "A break?" "Just for a little while, to figure things out. I feel like we've been growing apart lately, and I think some space might be good for both of us." The lies came so easily to her. She wasn't asking for space to figure things out. She was asking for permission to be with Ethan without the inconvenience of sneaking around. "How long of a break are we talking about?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "I don't know, a few weeks, maybe a month. I could stay with Jessica while we work through things." Jessica, the photographer who didn't exist, or who at least had never worked with Lily on any of the shoots she claimed to be doing. "And what about the apartment? The bills?" Lily looked uncomfortable. "I was hoping we could split everything like we always have. Just because we're taking a break doesn't mean we stop being partners." Partners. She wanted to keep spending my money while she played house with her ex-boyfriend. "I see." I walked to the kitchen and started unpacking the food, buying myself time to think. "And this is what you really want?" "I think it's what we both need," she said, following me. "Kyle, I love you, but I'm not happy. Haven't you noticed that we barely talk anymore? That we're like strangers living in the same space?" She was right about that, though not for the reasons she thought. We were strangers now. The woman I'd married would never have betrayed me like this. The woman standing in my kitchen was someone I didn't recognize. "Okay," I said finally. "If that's what you want, we'll try a separation." Relief flooded her face. "Really? You're not angry?" "I'm disappointed," I said honestly. "But if you're not happy, then we should figure out why." She came around the counter and hugged me, and I forced myself not to pull away. She smelled like the perfume I'd bought her for Christmas, mixed with something else. Guilt, maybe, or just the lingering scent of betrayal. "Thank you for understanding," she whispered against my chest. "This is going to be good for us. I know it is." I held her for a moment longer, memorizing the feeling. It would be the last time I touched my wife with anything resembling love. "When do you want to do this?" I asked. "This weekend? I can pack some things and move in with Jessica temporarily." "Sure, whatever you need." She pulled back and looked up at me with tears in her eyes. "I do love you, Kyle. I hope you know that." "I know," I lied. After dinner, she disappeared into the bedroom to make phone calls, probably to Ethan, telling him the good news. I sat on the couch with my laptop, making plans of my own. First, I transferred half of our joint savings into my new account. If Lily wanted a separation, she could pay for it herself. Second, I called the apartment management company and asked about removing someone from the lease. It would require both signatures, but there were ways around that if the remaining tenant could prove financial responsibility for the full rent. Third, I sent Shannon Walsh a text. "I've reconsidered your offer. Are you free for coffee tomorrow?" Her response came back immediately. "Absolutely. This is going to be fun." Lily emerged from the bedroom an hour later, looking happier than she had in months. "Jessica is so excited to have a roommate," she said, settling onto the couch beside me. "She's been lonely since her last relationship ended." Another lie. I was starting to wonder if Lily was even capable of telling the truth anymore. "That's great," I said. "I'm glad it worked out." We watched television together for another hour, playing at being a normal couple spending their last evening together. But I could feel the distance between us growing with every passing minute. When we went to bed, Lily curled up against me like she used to when we were first married. I lay awake listening to her breathe, planning her destruction. By morning, she'd be free to be with Ethan. By the end of the week, she'd understand exactly what that freedom was going to cost her. Saturday morning arrived gray and drizzly, matching my mood perfectly. Lily moved around the loft with nervous energy, packing clothes and personal items into suitcases like she was preparing for a vacation instead of abandoning her marriage. "I think this is everything I'll need for now," she said, zipping up a large suitcase. "I'll come back for the rest later, if that's okay. Take your time." I was sitting at the kitchen island with coffee and the newspaper, playing the role of the understanding husband. No rush. She wheeled her suitcase to the door, then turned back to face me. For a moment, she looked uncertain, like she was having second thoughts. "Kyle, It's okay," I said before she could finish. "We both know this is for the best." Relief and guilt warred across her face. Relief won. "I'll call you in a few days. Maybe we can have dinner, talk about things." "I'd like that." She kissed my cheek and left, taking her suitcases and her lies with her. I waited until I heard her car pull out of the parking garage. then walked to the window to watch her drive away. Phase 1 complete. I spent the rest of Saturday implementing Phase 2. First, I called the bank and removed Lily's access to our joint accounts. Since the accounts were primarily funded by my income, it was a simple matter of providing documentation and signing some forms. Next, I contacted the credit card companies and canceled the cards in her name. Again, since I was the primary account holder and the sole source of income verification, it was straightforward. Finally, I called our cell phone provider and removed her line from our family plan. Her number would be disconnected by Monday morning. By Sunday evening, Lily Morrison was financially cut off from the life she'd been living. Let's see how long her relationship with Ethan lasted when she couldn't afford to split the hotel bills. Monday morning brought the first consequences. I was in my office reviewing quarterly projections when my phone rang. Lily's number appeared on the screen. "Kyle, what the hell did you do?" Her voice was shaking with anger and panic. "Good morning to you too. How's the separation going?" "Don't play dumb with me. My credit cards aren't working. My phone is disconnected. I can't access our bank account." "Our bank account?" I leaned back in my chair, enjoying this more than I probably should have. "Lily, you asked for a separation. Separated people have separate finances. You can't just cut me off without warning." "Actually, I can. The accounts are in my name, funded by my income. You're welcome to open your own accounts anytime you'd like." There was silence on the other end of the line. I could practically hear the wheels turning in her head as she realized the implications. "Kyle, be reasonable. I need time to get back on my feet financially. My photography business. We'll have to support you now. That's what independence looks like, Lily." "This is cruel." "No, this is fair. You wanted freedom, and I'm giving it to you. Complete freedom." She hung up on me. I was still smiling when Shannon knocked on my office door. "You look like a man who's having a good day," she observed, settling into her usual chair. "The best? Coffee?" "Please." She watched me pour 2 cups from the machine in my office. "I take it the separation is going well?" "Better than expected. Lily is discovering that adultery has hidden costs." "Ah, the financial reality check. Classic." Shannon accepted her coffee with a knowing smile. "How long do you think it'll take her to come crawling back?" "Not long. Her photography business barely covers her car payment, and she's been living off my income for years. She'll run out of money within a week. And then? Then she'll realize that Ethan's minimum wage gigs won't cover the lifestyle she's grown accustomed to." Shannon sipped her coffee thoughtfully. "You know, there might be ways to accelerate that realization." "I'm listening." "Well, hypothetically speaking, if someone wanted to make sure certain information reached the right people at the right time..." She shrugged. "Let's just say I have connections in this city's social circles." The suggestion was subtle but clear. Shannon was offering to help destroy Lily's reputation along with her finances. "What kind of connections?" "The arts district is surprisingly small. Photographers, gallery owners, event planners, they all talk to each other. If word got out that a certain photographer was unreliable, unprofessional, or involved in messy personal drama." She didn't need to finish the thought. In a creative field like photography, reputation was everything. Without it, Lily would be finished professionally as well as personally. "That seems harsh," I said, though I was already considering the possibilities. "Harsh? Kyle, she's been cheating on you for months while spending your money and lying to your face. If anything, it's poetic justice." She had a point. Lily had made her choice when she decided to betray our marriage. Now she could live with the consequences. "Hypothetically," I said, "how would such information reach these social circles?" Shannon's smile was predatory. "Leave that to me. I have lunch plans with some very chatty people this week." After she left, I sat in my office feeling a mixture of anticipation and guilt. What I was planning went beyond simple financial consequences. It was character assassination, designed to destroy not just Lily's marriage, but her entire life in this city. But then I remembered the photos on my phone. Lily laughing with Ethan in the hotel lobby. The kiss in the parking garage. The lies she'd told so effortlessly. She'd made her choice. Now I was making mine. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Lily. I'm using Jessica's phone. We need to talk." I typed back, "I think we've said everything we need to say. Please, I made a mistake. Can we meet for coffee?" The desperation in her message was palpable. It had taken exactly 1 day for reality to set in. "I'm busy this week. Maybe next weekend." "Kyle, please. I can't afford groceries." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "You should have thought of that before you decided you needed space." I didn't hear from her again that day. Tuesday brought more consequences. Mark stopped by my office with a grin on his face. "You're not going to believe this," he said, dropping into the chair across from my desk. "I was at the Copper Still last night, and guess who I saw?" "Surprise me." "Ethan Rivera, trying to pick up women by claiming he was a successful musician. Apparently his usual source of funding has dried up, because he was nursing one beer for 3 hours and asking if the bar had any openings for guitar players." The news filled me with savage satisfaction. Interesting. Gets better. I may have mentioned to a few people that he's been messing around with married women. Word travels fast in dive bars. "Mark, you didn't have to—" "The hell I didn't. Nobody screws with my friends." He leaned forward. "How's Lily handling her newfound independence?" "About as well as you'd expect. She's discovering that freedom isn't free." "Good. She made her bed. Now she can lie in it. Preferably alone." After Mark left, I found myself thinking about Lily's situation. She was probably staying with Ethan now, since the fictional Jessica didn't exist. 2 broke artists trying to make rent on whatever Ethan could scrape together from his coffee shop gigs. It wouldn't last long. My phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. Unknown number again. "Kyle, it's me." Lily's voice was smaller now, defeated. "I need to get some things from the apartment." "When?" "Tonight, if that's okay. I won't take long." "Fine. I'll be here." She hung up without saying goodbye. I spent the rest of the day preparing for her visit. If Lily wanted to see what she'd thrown away, I'd make sure she got a good look. Lily arrived at 7:30, looking like a woman who'd aged 5 years and 5 days. Her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she wore the same clothes I'd seen her in on Saturday. The confident woman who'd asked for a separation had been replaced by someone desperate and defeated. "Thank you for letting me come by," she said quietly, not meeting my eyes. "It's still your home, too, technically." I gestured toward the living room. "Can I get you something to drink?" "Water would be nice." I poured 2 glasses and joined her on the couch. She sat perched on the edge, like she was ready to run at any moment. "You look tired," I observed. "I haven't been sleeping well." She took a sip of water with shaking hands. "Kyle, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." "Okay. Did you really cancel my credit cards and bank access because of the separation, or do you know about Ethan?" The question hung in the air between us. I could have continued playing dumb, but what was the point? We were past pretending now. "I know about Ethan," I said calmly. "I've known for over a week." The water glass slipped from her hands, shattering on the hardwood floor. Neither of us moved to clean it up. "How?" she whispered. "Does it matter? The real question is why you thought you could get away with it." Tears started streaming down her face. "Kyle, I'm sorry. I never meant for this to happen. It just did." "It just did?" I stood up and walked to the kitchen, returning with paper towels to clean up the broken glass. "You just accidentally started sleeping with your ex-boyfriend? You just accidentally lied to me for months?" "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Lily? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you decided you wanted to have your cake and eat it too. Keep the comfortable life I provided while getting your excitement somewhere else." She was sobbing now, mascara running down her cheeks. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. "But you knew what you didn't want. Me." I finished cleaning up the glass and sat back down across from her. The separation wasn't about figuring things out. It was about getting permission to be with him without feeling guilty about it. "That's not true." "Isn't it? How long have you been seeing him, Lily? And don't lie to me anymore. I have photos." Her face went white. "Photos?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the pictures from the hotel. Her face in the lobby, laughing with Ethan, the kiss in the parking garage, the timestamp showing how long they'd been in his room. "Oh, God," she breathed. "Kyle, I can explain." "No, you can't. There's no explanation that makes this okay." I put the phone away. 4 years of marriage, and you threw it away for what? A failed musician who can't even afford his own hotel room? It's not about money, isn't it? Because Ethan seems to be having trouble keeping up with your lifestyle now that my credit cards aren't available. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. "You're enjoying this?" "You're damn right I am. You wanted to play games, Lily. You wanted to sneak around and lie and cheat while I paid for everything. Now you get to see what your choices actually cost." "I made a mistake." "No, you made a choice. Multiple choices. Over several months. You chose to betray our marriage. You chose to lie to my face. You chose to ask for a separation so you could be with him guilt-free. The only mistake you made was thinking I'd be stupid enough to keep funding your affair." She was quiet for a long moment, wiping tears from her face with the back of her hand. "What do you want from me?" she asked finally. I want a divorce. A real one. Not this separation charade. Kyle, please. We can work through this. I'll end things with Ethan. I'll do whatever it takes. It's too late for that. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. You know what the worst part is? It's not even the cheating. It's how easy it was for you to lie to me. How you looked me in the eye every morning and told me you loved me while you were planning to meet him. I do love you. No, you don't. You love what I provide. The apartment, the financial security, the comfortable life. But you don't love me because if you did, none of this would have happened. She stood up and walked over to me, reaching for my hand. Kyle, please. Give me another chance. I know I screwed up, but we can fix this. I pulled my hand away. How's it working out with Ethan? Is he everything you thought he'd be when you don't have my money to make it fun? Her face crumpled. It's not. It's different than I expected. Let me guess. Turns out romance is less romantic when you're splitting the bill at McDonald's instead of nice restaurants. Turns out hotel rooms lose their appeal when you're the one paying for them. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. Something you should try sometime. I turned to face her. How much money does he make, Lily? From his coffee shop gigs and his music that nobody wants to buy? She didn't answer, but the look on her face told me everything I needed to know. Not enough to support the lifestyle you're used to, I continued. Not enough to cover your car payment, your phone bill, your share of rent, wherever you're staying? How long before he gets tired of supporting you? Stop it. How long before he realizes that dating a married woman was fun, but being responsible for a divorced woman is work? Stop. She was crying again, but I felt no sympathy. Every tear was earned. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to sign divorce papers. You're going to take whatever the court says you're entitled to, which won't be much since you contributed almost nothing financially to this marriage. And then you're going to figure out how to build a life that doesn't depend on someone else paying for it. And if I refuse? I smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. Then I'll make sure everyone in the city knows exactly what kind of person you are. Your photographer friends, your clients, your family. I'll make sure they all see the photos, read the text messages, understand exactly how you repaid 4 years of love and support. Her face went pale. You wouldn't. Try me. We stared at each other for a long moment. Finally, she looked away. I need time to think. You have until Friday. After that, I file for divorce and let the lawyers handle everything, including the public disclosure of evidence. She nodded slowly, defeated. Can I get my things now? Of course. I watched her gather clothes and personal items, moving through our home like a ghost. This woman had shared my bed for 4 years, had promised to love me in sickness and health, for better or worse. Now she was a stranger packing suitcases full of betrayal. When she finished, I walked her to the door. Lily, I said as she was leaving, for what it's worth, I really did love you, the woman I thought you were anyway. She looked back at me with tears in her eyes. I loved you too. I still do. No, I said quietly. You loved what I could give you. There's a difference. After she left, I poured myself a bourbon and sat on the couch where we'd had our last conversation as husband and wife. The loft felt empty, but not in a bad way. It felt clean, like I'd finally gotten rid of something toxic that had been poisoning the air. My phone buzzed with a text from Shannon. How did it go? I typed back. Better than expected. She has until Friday to sign papers. And if she doesn't? Then we move to phase 3. I'll be ready. I finished my bourbon and went to bed alone for the first time in 4 years. For the first time in months, I slept soundly.